Just before the start of the new semester, I took on a new case. My client was a businesswoman dealing in timber from Anshun, Guizhou. Through our phone conversations, I learned some unsettling details. She had leased an abandoned factory to store her timber. On the very first day her workers went in for repairs, an accident occurred. A tripod stand collapsed, hitting a worker. After that, minor accidents became a daily occurrence. 2 days prior, villagers' livestock had wandered into the factory. The next morning, workers arrived to find the animals dead, scattered everywhere inside. The villagers claimed it was an ill-fated start and suggested bringing in a spiritual master. All work at the factory was immediately halted. Before any master could arrive, the worst nightmare unfolded. On the 7th day, a worker was found hanged by the back door. It was then that the businesswoman truly grasped the gravity of the situation and sought my help to cleanse the place. Upon my arrival at Anshun station, the businesswoman herself came to pick me up in a Mercedes. "Hello, I'm Yang Ha." Yang Ha, dressed in a shimmering black dress, approached slowly. She offered a smile that, if you overlooked the lack of warmth in her eyes, might make you believe she was a gentle soul. I politely returned her greeting, "Hello." She moved to link arms with me, but realizing I was a head taller, she instead offered, "Let me help you with your bag." I declined. "No need, my bag contains spiritual artifacts." Yang Ha withdrew her hand, chuckled, and said, "All right, let's get in the car." The car drove from the city center towards the mountains. The road, carved halfway up the slopes, offered a breathtaking view of endless peaks, layer upon layer stretching into the distance. The majestic panorama of rolling mountains filled my sight. The elderly often say Guizhou is 9 mountains, 1 river, and a fraction of a field. Gazing at the massive mountains outside the window, a chilling thought crossed my mind. If someone were kidnapped here, how could they ever hope to escape across these myriad peaks? The car stopped in a town at the foot of the mountains. "Let's get something to eat first," she suggested. "It's another hour's drive to the factory." Yang Ha led me into an Anshun Pig's Trotter's hot pot restaurant. It was 1 p.m. and the place was packed. The owner greeted Yang Ha warmly. "Your usual table upstairs is ready." Yang Ha gestured upstairs, telling me to go ahead. "I'm treating today. Bring up all your Anshun specialties," the owner replied. "Of course, please have a seat." As soon as we sat down, a waitress brought tea and utensils. "First time here, miss?" she asked. "Yes," I replied, taking my bowl and chopsticks and rinsing them with hot water. It was a bit surprising for her to ask, especially since I was with someone else. She continued in a low voice, "Be careful if you come alone. There used to be human trafficking here, kidnappings of women and children." I sensed her good intentions and thanked her. Before she left our table, she leaned in, her voice barely a whisper, and added, "Yang Ha is not to be trusted. She's extremely sly." Just as she finished speaking, Yang Ha herself appeared upstairs, followed by staff carrying our food. The delectable dishes were laid out on the table, and Yang Ha introduced them one by one. "These are all our Guizhou specialties: braised pig trotters with soybeans, sour fish soup, spicy stir-fried yellow beef, grilled beef offal, grilled tofu." The braised trotters were incredibly tender and rich, the local pork exceptionally fresh. The pork fat melted in my mouth, the tendons chewy and crisp. The aroma of soybeans and the fresh taste of the trotters blended perfectly on my tongue. The red sour fish soup, fermented from rice water, was a tantalizing blend of sour and spicy that awakened my palate. With tears streaming from the spice, I devoured 4 bowls of rice, secretly promising myself that once this case was over, I'd explore other parts of Guizhou to truly savor its local cuisine. After lunch, Yang Ha drove me further up the mountain. We passed 2 more peaks before reaching our destination. Her factory was situated on a small hill, a 30-minute walk from the village at the base, or a 5-minute drive. The car stopped outside a large iron gate. On the ground lay scattered scraps of paper from exploded firecrackers. On a rock to the left, incense sticks had burned down to ashes. Yang Ha pulled keys from her bag and unlocked the outer iron gate. The humidity here was high, and the vegetation thrived. Plants absorb water, nurturing yin energy, and when trees surround a dwelling, they accumulate yin, fostering spirits. We stopped before a wall. Ghostly figures, formed by condensation, clung to it. Just by looking at its facade, I could feel the factory's heavy, ominous aura. The factory's main door was a newly installed metal sheet. A gentle pull was all it took to open it. As the door swung open, a blast of cold air hit my face. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of fresh paint mixed with the putrid stench of decaying flesh. I noticed that half the walls had been freshly painted, while the other half remained untouched. The unpainted walls were covered in more ghostly figures formed by condensation. All of them were female. I asked Yang Ha, where was the person found hanged? Yang Ha pointed to an empty room in the northwest, specifically its doorframe. Following her gaze, I saw that the area was shrouded in darkness, receiving no sunlight, making it considerably gloomier than other spots. As I scanned my surroundings, I pressed on, where were the dead livestock found? Several goats were found dead by the back door, she replied. I walked towards the back door. The stench of decay grew even more intense there. Piled here were numerous rotting tables and chairs. In the corner, several rusted paint cans lay stacked, clearly not the new paint used on the walls days ago. Those cans looked at least a decade old. Yang Ha rubbed her arms, shivering. These things were supposed to have been burned. We didn't get to dispose of them before everything started happening. She kept rubbing her arms as she spoke. I pulled a talisman from my bag and handed it to her. The yin energy here is extremely heavy, and your yang energy is weak. Keep this in your pocket, it will ward off evil. A moment later, she seemed to feel less cold. Scanning the walls and windows, I saw ghostly shadows everywhere, confirming that the place was far from clean. I wondered if this was merely due to restless spirits gathering in a long-abandoned factory, or if many people had actually died here. I asked, what was this factory used for before? Why was it abandoned? Yang Ha shook her head. All I know is it used to be a fertilizer factory, abandoned over 10 years ago. Beyond that, I don't have many details. It seems I'll have to wait until tonight to call forth the spirits and ask. I'll come back alone tonight to handle things. You can go back now. Yang Ha asked, can't you do it during the day? I explained. My own yang and fire energy are strong, and with it being daytime, they won't emerge willingly. She pressed, and can't you just force them out? The moment she finished speaking, we heard a sharp asterisk thud as something fell. I squinted, looking around, and saw only a faint, blurry shadow in the northwest corner. To manifest a shadow even in broad daylight. This entity is truly malicious. Yang Ha, terrified, tugged at my sleeve. Tang Deem, let's get out of here first. Only after we were outside the factory did Yang Ha finally breathe a sigh of relief. Earlier, when I spoke of sending them away, did something from inside follow me? She asked, her voice shaky. I shook my head. You're wearing the talisman so it wouldn't dare follow you. Back down the mountain, I went to the house Yang Ha had arranged for me in the village. I have to return to the city now. Tonight, you can take the scooter up. Once you're done, I'll send someone to pick you up tomorrow morning. She took a key from her bag and handed it to me. Then, she walked to the window and pointed. That small red scooter parked outside the gate, that's it. Understood. I put my bag down and glanced out the window. After Yang Ha left, I strolled around the village, gathering information about the factory. An old man told me it used to be a fertilizer factory, abandoned after it relocated. Another old woman speculated, perhaps after being abandoned for so long, some wandering spirits have taken residence there. Didn't someone hang themselves there recently? And didn't little Liu's goats wander in and die too? Nothing like this ever happened before. Only in these recent days have things gone awry. The old woman added, it's probably just these wandering spirits. The one who hanged themselves was likely tormented to death by them. The elderly villagers clustered together, discussing the matter, but their accounts offered no significant new information beyond what Yang Ha had already told me. Wandering spirits don't typically harm people. I suspected something much more serious had happened in that factory. After 10 p.m., I packed my things and rode the scooter up the mountain. At night, the mountain slopes were pitch black. The incessant chirping of insects and croaking of frogs filled the air from the grass. Upon reaching the iron gate, I realized I'd forgotten the key. So, I turned on my flashlight and scaled the wall. As soon as I stepped into the courtyard, dogs in the village below began to bark furiously. Waves of cold energy converged around me. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of several faint shadows appearing beside me. The wandering spirits outside the factory seemed to be afraid of something inside. I would be going inside soon. It would be inconvenient if a swarm of spirits followed, begging for protection. So, I decided to send away the wandering spirits outside first. I lit paper offerings and incense. I formed a hand seal and chanted a spell. By the command of the Celestial Lord, I guide you, wandering spirits, specters, and all beings of the four realms. Those with heads ascend, those without rise. Spirits from battle, knives, water, hanging, light, dark, and all who died unjustly, those with karmic debts, vengeful spirits, all appear before this 8 trigrams altar. With radiant light, ascend and be reborn in other realms, whether male or female, rich or poor, by your own will. Hasten all souls, hasten to rebirth. Hasten all souls, hasten to rebirth. As the paper offerings burned to ash, the spirits beside me gradually materialized. They stumbled over the paper offerings on the ground, heading towards the yellow springs. The last ghost paused, turning its head to look at me. I asked, "You don't want to leave?" It shook its head, pointing towards the inside of the factory. I followed its gaze. By the immeasurable heavenly venerate, I almost swore. Numerous ghosts had appeared in the factory windows, their eyes fixed on us. This isn't right, I thought. Why are there so many female ghosts inside? I sent the last ghost on its way. Then I stepped onto the paper offerings, crossing the boundary between yin and yang without my feet touching the ground, thus avoiding contamination by yin energy. I did this to prevent any sneak attacks while I subdued them. I reached out to push the iron gate, only to find something blocking it. I couldn't open it. Something that dared to block my path was usually a vengeful spirit, which only intensified my curiosity about what lay inside. I stamped my foot, pushed with all my might, and chanted the 9-character incantation. Warriors, line up for battle, advance. With a crash, the metal door burst open under the spiritual force. I turned on my flashlight, sweeping it around the pitch-black, empty factory. The stench of decay was even more potent than during the day. I slowly made my way towards the spot where the man had hanged himself. He was merely a hired laborer, yet he tragically met his end here, tormented by a malevolent spirit. A person who dies by hanging, neither touching heaven nor earth, is often the most innocent. He should be sent away first. I pulled out yellow paper, candles, and incense from my bag. Crouching down, I tore a paper effigy, dabbed it with my spiritual blood, and prepared to summon him. I looked up and saw 2 feet dangling right before my eyes. Damn it! The sudden appearance startled me, making me recoil. The hanged ghost reenacted its final moments, its head constrained by a rope, its arms and legs thrashing incessantly. Finally, its finger pointed towards the room filled with stacked tables and chairs. I shone my flashlight in the direction it indicated, and a faint shadow instantly vanished in the light. I deduced it was telling me that the vengeful spirit that forced him to hang himself was hiding in that room. I turned back, ready to continue guiding the hanged ghost. Before I could act, my flashlight beam dimmed. I felt numerous presences encircling me, about 3 feet away, their gazes fixed on me. I formed a hand seal and chanted a spell to isolate these female spirits, prioritizing the poor soul on the door beam first. Heaven and earth, mysterious origin, myriad forms, fundamental root, cultivate billions of eons, attain my divine path. Within and without the 3 realms, the Tao alone is revered. Vengeful spirits, quickly retreat and avoid me. Those who defy will be bound forever, never to transcend. The encircling spirits all retreated back into that northwest room. Fearing that the vengeful spirit might command minor ghosts to cause chaos during the transcendence ritual, I decisively set up a formation in front of that room. Heaven is round, earth is square, laws and decrees 9 chapters. I set this formation. None shall step out. Violators will have their souls scattered and spirits dissipated. I struck 3 talismans onto the doorframe. Sending away a hanged ghost is quite troublesome. In Taiwan, this ritual is called Song Ru Zong, sending away meat dumplings. I lit 3 incense sticks and placed them below the doorframe, creating a spiritual ladder for the hanged ghost to descend to the ground. I chanted a spell, forming a hand seal to control the paper effigy. A moment later, the paper effigy slowly rose from the ground and made a gesture towards me, as if possessed. I called out, "Wandering spirit, if you have any grievances, speak now." Behind the paper effigy, a middle-aged man, around 40, suddenly appeared, dressed in old, tattered gray worker's clothes. He knelt down, weeping as he spoke. "I just want to go home and see. My son just started high school and my wife is sick. I can't rest easy." At this, my heart ached. At his age, with elderly parents above him and young children below, he had gone out to earn money, only to be killed by a ghost. "Where is your home? Do you remember the way?" He shook his head, unable to recall the path. I took out my phone and called Yang Ha. A moment later, she picked up. "Hello, what's wrong?" "The address of the worker who was hanged in the factory. Give me his address." Yang Ha gave me the location, Village 20, Town 20, County 20, Group 1. Once I had the address, I hung up. I picked up 2 sheets of yellow paper from the ground, tore them into the shape of shoes, and placed them at the man's feet. Drawing a talisman, I chanted a spell for the deceased. You, who died longing for home, are granted one journey. Resolve your lingering attachments, then quickly enter the underworld. Remember this place, where these shoes to return home, walk without looking back. When you see a glowing lantern, that is your home. The man bowed to me, then added, There's a powerful demon hiding in the inner room. Young lady, please be careful. I lit the paper shoes with my talisman fire. Go home now. I will handle everything here, and I will avenge your unjust death. As the paper burned out, the man vanished. I picked up my flashlight, shining it towards the inner room, but its powerful beam couldn't penetrate the darkness. I let out a cold snort and yelled into the darkness. No matter if you're a vengeful spirit or an evil demon, no matter how many sins you've committed, how many innocent lives you've tragically taken today, I summon my ancestral master to protect me, and I will ensure your soul is utterly scattered and your spirit dissipated. Forming a hand seal, I chanted, 9th generation disciple of Guan Tiansu Dao, I offer my body to invoke the decree. Ancestral master, guardian of the Dharma, destroy demons and purge spirits. Immediately, a surge of heat spread from my feet to my head, filling me with a sense of immense power and comfort. I switched on my flashlight and strode quickly towards the inner room. The flashlight beam finally pierced the corner where the rusted paint cans were stacked, and compared to earlier, things seemed to have changed. Reddish liquid oozed from the cans, and the putrid smell was even heavier, stinging my eyes. I kicked away a wooden chair at my feet and, suppressing my disgust, approached the cans. The flashlight beam into the cans sent shivers down my spine. With my naked eye, I could see hair, bones, and decaying fingers inside. The surrounding environment was also shifting. The cluttered tables, chairs, and cabinets vanished, replaced by 2 blood-stained axes on the ground. The cans in the corner now looked newer, and a hand slowly emerged from one of them. Mother of God, dismembered bodies too? I couldn't help but exclaim. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of an axe chopping bone echoed through the room. My flashlight dimmed, and the surroundings plunged into darkness. A gust of wind blew from my left. I turned to see a man raising an axe, slashing towards me. With one hand, I formed a hand seal and chanted a spell to repel the malevolent spirit. Netherfire of the 9 hells, burn souls, destroy demons. By the power of the 9 hells fire, burn souls, destroy demons. I struck it, and it retreated into the corner, but my ears were assailed by a cacophony of sounds. The chopping of flesh, curses, faint pleas from women, and even gunshots. These sounds were echoes, images a manifestation of the events that occurred when the spirits were still alive, replayed through sound. Footsteps grew closer. My weak flashlight beam projected shadows on the wall, many figures pressed against it, one even staring with wide, vacant eyes. I used the talisman in my hand to strike at the wide-eyed shadow. A moment later, the shadow on the wall vanished. I retreated to the doorway. There were too many spirits inside, and a powerful one controlling lesser ones would be very difficult to deal with. To resolve this and send them away, I needed to know what truly happened here. Was the most powerful spirit the dismembered victim or the dismemberer? Were there human remains in the cans? I decided to open my heavenly eye for clairvoyance. I lit incense and set up a formation in front of the small room, wary of the powerful demon launching a sneak attack. Then I formed a hand seal and chanted a spell to open my heavenly eye. Mysterious heaven, supreme purity, revered name, universal salvation. Eyes sweep through the 9 heavens, envoy of great calamities. All demons retreat, all gods descend. Evil dissipates, Tao energy endures. A bright white light illuminated my surroundings, and images began to flash before my eyes. The factory was built in 1998 to produce chemical fertilizers, a small-scale township enterprise. In its 2nd year of operation, the government initiated a business support plan, and the factory relocated, leaving this site abandoned. Over time, vegetation grew, covering the factory, drawing yin energy inside. Soon, wandering spirits from nearby found refuge here. Then, in 2009, a group of men arrived in a pickup truck. Every few days thereafter, the truck would bring more women. The youngest was 4, the oldest around 35 or 36. Women and children were constantly brought in and taken away from this place. Every day, the factory was filled with violence, beatings, and rapes, the desperate pleas and cries of women, and the deafening curses of men. These horrifying days lasted for half a year. One girl seized an opportunity while the traffickers slept and escaped through the back door of the small northwest room. 6 people tried to escape, 2 were caught, and 1 fell off a cliff during the pursuit. I recognized someone, the waitress from the restaurant. One of the escaped girls made it to town and met her. The waitress hid her. Another woman, who escaped with her daughter from the town, was caught. She was disemboweled and had her organs harvested right in the truck, her body then dumped in an abandoned field. The scene shifted back to the factory. A man stepped out of the pickup truck. With triangular eyes and gaunt cheekbones, he possessed an extremely vicious face. "Boss, what do we do? 2 of them ran away?" The man raised his hand and slapped him. "Useless idiot, can't even keep track of people. If the police show up, I'll chop you into pieces." The pickup truck driver stepped out. He bore a striking resemblance to Yang Ha. "Boss," the driver said, "let's deal with the people inside first. It'll be trouble if someone really comes." The ringleader pulled out his phone and made a call. "Brother, I've got goods here, good to sell." He hung up and told the driver, "I've figured it out. The good merchandise will be chosen first. The inferior ones will be soaked in preservative fluid, frozen, and transported to other provinces." A few men smoked, their voices casual, as they decided the fates of the kidnapped women inside. Witnessing that scene from years ago, fury ignited in my chest. I struggled to control my emotions and continued watching. The man who looked so much like Yang Ha dragged a petite girl inside. The girl pleaded, calling him brother. "Brother, I'm Yang Ha's friend, please let me go." The man spat. "My sister said you were seducing her boyfriend, told me to kill you." "No, brother, I really didn't. Her desperate pleas were met with a club that knocked her unconscious. After that, they selected and dragged away 7 or 8 more people, leaving over 10 women still imprisoned in the factory. The pickup truck brought in preservative solutions, insulated boxes, and ice packs. A bespectacled doctor began to perform live organ harvesting in the small room. The victims watched, wide-eyed, as their kidneys were removed, fresh red blood dripping and pooling on the makeshift operating table. The doctor placed their organs in special preservation fluids, then into insulated boxes with ice packs for transportation by truck. The bodies were dismembered with an axe by the man, thrown into paint cans, and then taken to the mountain behind to be buried in pits. Almost every other day, someone was subjected to live organ harvesting and dismemberment in that small room. The relentless sound of an axe chopping flesh echoed, as if this place had become a meat processing plant. The atrocities here were no different from the crimes committed by Nation X when they invaded my country. They were all inhumane beasts. Even the wandering spirits who had originally gathered here recoiled in fear, retreating outside the factory and daring not to enter. The evil of humans could even scare ghosts. Amidst this desperate fear, some chose to fight back, injuring the traffickers and escaping. At the same time, police and armed public security forces, led by the escaped girl, surrounded the area. The armed public security, guns drawn, first cornered the traffickers against a wall, then escorted some of the victims out. The ringleader took hostages, hiding in the small room for a final standoff. Gunshots rang out, and the man was struck by a distant sharpshooter, dying instantly. After seeing the entire process, my mind struggled to find peace, and tears of rage streamed down my face. Evil humans who become vengeful spirits in life, you committed all manner of heinous crimes, enraging heaven and earth. Today, I, disciple of Guantian Su Dao, acting on behalf of heaven and earth, will eliminate you evil spirits. I will make you suffer all 18 levels of hell's punishments, then shatter your souls until your spirits are utterly scattered. The talisman on the door vibrated and fell, and the vengeful spirit inside raised its axe, bringing it straight down towards me. I channeled my ultimate technique, chanting, "Ninth generation disciple of Guantian Su Dao, I offer my body to invoke the decree. First, to suppress demons. Second, to seal monsters. Third, to transcend spirits. Supreme purity ancestral master, grand pure old monarch." I invoked 3 great masters, Heavenly Master Zhang, Tao Mother Yuanjun, and 9 Heavens Profound Lady, along with all celestial deities, to descend and command divine soldiers and fiery power, swiftly as decreed. Several beams of golden light descended from the heavens, and the vengeful spirit shrieked agonizingly. The dogs in the village below barked ceaselessly, rejoicing at the destruction of the extremely malicious vengeful spirit. I pulled out a talisman, burned it, and created a yin-yang path to send him into the 18 layers of hell. Burning him would be too lenient. Those innocent women watched their own organs being ripped out, enduring unimaginable pain until death. I invoked the netherworld soldiers of the 9 hells. From the burning talisman on the ground, dozens of ghostly enforcers emerged. They chanted in unison, "Ghost enforcers, heed the command." This vengeful spirit, who committed crimes against heaven during its life, shall be escorted to the Hall of Yama, cast into the 18 layers of hell to suffer ghostly torment, then its soul shall be shattered, never to be reborn. As commanded, dozens of ghost enforcers escorted the vengeful spirit into the underworld. The paper money burned completely, its ashes scattering. The spirits who died in the room stepped onto the ashes, their forms materializing. I took a step back, then took out all the paper money and incense from my bag and burned it for them. After the incense burned, I addressed the deceased spirits. "I know your grievances. I have reported it to the underworld, and the wicked one has been punished. I shall now guide you all to transcend and depart." With that, I sat cross-legged and began chanting the sutra for transcending departed souls. The ethereal melodies resonated, prayers for salvation ascended, and with divine intervention, all souls trapped in the factory were guided to a better realm. One by one, all the spirits in the factory were guided to transcendence, except for 2 who lingered. I asked why they didn't leave. The short-haired female ghost said, "My mother is all alone at home. I worry about her." "Where is your home? I will visit her for you. Why can't I go back?" The hanged ghost could. I explained, "He died less than 7 days ago. He could still return home. You've been dead for decades. You cannot traverse the mortal realm." She bowed her head. "My home is in Village 20, Town 20, County 20, Group 2, Long Aigea." I took out my phone and recorded the address. "I will visit her on your behalf. You can rest assured and depart." Still clinging to her loved one, she stepped onto the netherworld fire and entered the underworld. I turned to the other lingering spirit. "And you?" she asked. "I miss my 2 daughters at home. My youngest was also kidnapped and taken away. I want to know if they're still alive." I suddenly remembered who she was, the woman who tried to escape with her daughter only to be disemboweled and have her organs harvested right in the truck. "Both are gone," I said gently. "Your youngest daughter died years ago. Your eldest daughter was executed." Hearing this, blood tears streamed from her eyes. "Why? Why like this? Your eldest daughter killed 4 people to avenge you." I showed her news reports on my phone. "The remains of both your daughters were buried together." Fearing she might be enraged and transform into a vengeful spirit, I subtly took out a talisman. "If you enter the underworld now, perhaps you will have a chance to reunite." She said nothing, quietly turned, and also stepped onto the netherworld fire, entering the underworld. All the spirits in the factory had been sent away. The metallic stench of blood completely vanished, replaced by the faint, clean scent of incense in the air. It was past 2 a.m. when I returned to my lodging. After showering, I sent messages to Yang Ha and my master uncle, then collapsed into sleep. The next morning, I was woken by a knock at the door. "Tang Deem, are you awake yet?" I picked up my phone. It was 8:23 a.m., and I had several unread messages. I got up and opened the door. "So early?" Yang Ha's face was pale. Perhaps she hadn't slept after seeing my message last night and had driven over at dawn. She asked, "What do you mean?" I folded my arms and smiled. "Exactly what it sounds like. My brother and I are not connected. He is him, I am me. Besides, he was executed over 10 years ago." Yang Ha vehemently denied it. "No, I didn't." "So what are you afraid of?" Perhaps my gaze was too sharp. She nervously clenched her fists. "I just don't want this matter to interfere with my future life." I gave a faint, mocking smile. "To betray your friends for your own brother's dealings." Before I could finish, she burst out, "I didn't." She angrily shoved me. "If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place." "Shut up." It seemed she feared I would expose her secrets. She pulled a knife from her bag, intending to silence me permanently. I dodged twice, ensuring the camera recorded her assault before I moved to stop her. At the same time, footsteps echoed in the hallway. 4 thugs burst into the room. Yang Ha revealed her true wicked nature. "Everyone who knows my secrets is already 6 feet under. Did you burn paper money for yourself last night? Because today I'm sending you down too." "Tisk, tisk, tusk," I scoffed, releasing her. "My line of work, I don't just burn paper money for ghosts. I also know how to divine the future. Did you really think I couldn't predict what would happen today?" With that, I smashed a chair, pulled out a leg, and pointed it at them. "Come on, all of you," Yang Ha shrieked. "Kill her." Unfortunately for them, before they could even attack, police sirens wailed from downstairs. I, along with the entire group, were taken in police cars back to the city to give statements at the police station. The lawyer my master-uncle hired intervened on my behalf. Yang Ha, believing she had powerful backing, showed no fear. Before leaving, I looked at her and quietly said, "Long Ai Jia hasn't been sent away yet. She said you two were the best of friends and she misses you very much." Behind me, her furious curses rang out. "I'm not scared. I'll just hire another master to get rid of her. You just wait, I'll expose you online." I turned my head to give her one last look. Those who commit wrongs and cause deaths must face punishment. In the days to come, she would descend into panic, paranoia, and madness. Not that karma doesn't strike, but that the time simply hadn't come yet. I didn't pay much attention to the rest. I left everything for my master-uncle's lawyer to handle. That very day, I bought a ticket to the hometown of the short-haired female ghost. The high-speed train, then a bus, then a town shuttle. It took 10 hours to reach the town, by which time it was dark. It was inconvenient to enter the village at night, so I found a small inn in town to stay overnight. The next morning, after eating rice noodles in town, I headed for the village. The village lay on the mountainside, a 30-minute walk. Luckily, after a short while, some young men on motorcycles came up from the base of the mountain. They kindly stopped and asked where I was going. "Someone asked me to visit Long Ai Jia's home in Village 20, I replied. The young men looked at the boy riding on the back of one of their motorcycles. "That's his aunt's house," one said. I raised an eyebrow. "What a coincidence," the boy on the back spoke up. "I'll give you a ride up the mountain." "Thank you," I said. When we reached the village, he enthusiastically led the way. Long Ai Jia's old house was in the northernmost part of the village. It was a dilapidated, gray wooden house with weeds overgrown by the door. A hunched old woman carried a wooden bucket out of the house. The boy called out to her in the local Miao dialect, "Grandma." He then spoke to her, explaining in Miao that I was there to see her. The old woman's cloudy eyes gazed blankly at me. "Grandma," I said, "Long Ai Jia asked me to visit you." The old woman put down her wooden bucket, excitedly grasped my hand, and spoke a torrent of words. Due to the language barrier, I looked at the boy. He translated. "Grandma says Jia asked you to visit her." I gently replied, "She has gone to a very good place. Before she left, she asked me to come see you." The old woman embraced me, sobbing, her voice choked with emotion as she spoke a great deal. The boy translated a few sentences, explaining that his grandmother had long known Long Ai Jia was kidnapped and died, but never expected someone would still remember her. After talking for a while, the old woman insisted I stay for lunch. She treated me like her lost daughter, so I agreed. After the meal, we chatted some more. Before leaving, I discreetly placed a few hundred yuan in her cupboard. The boy enthusiastically offered, "I'll take you back down the mountain." On the way down the mountain, the boy suddenly asked, "You know how to tell fortunes, don't you?" "I do," I replied. "Can you tell mine?" "Sure," I said. "What would you like to know?" Seeing how he had patiently waited for me and offered a ride for free, I felt I could grant him a reading. "I want to know about me and my girlfriend." "Tell me your birth date," I said. "March 1998. I tapped my fingers, calculating for a moment. I spoke, "You and she have no destiny together. You cheated, she found out, and you two will break up next March." The boy fell silent. I continued, "She hasn't cheated, but she has admirers." "So if I go find her, will she forgive me?" he asked. I couldn't help but retort, "Oh, please, you two have been together for 4 years, and you've cheated 3 times, and she's forgiven you every time. If you have any self-awareness, just let her go in peace and forget about you. She won't suffer too much when you break up." Just as we reached the village at the foot of the mountain, the car arrived. As soon as I got to the county, I received a message from my master-uncle. "You haven't left Guizhou yet, have you? Your master has taken another job for you. Somewhere else in Guizhou, a student has been afflicted by evil. You're already on your way, so go check it out. I've already collected the 5,000 deposit." I was speechless. There were only 2 days left until school started.